In this video, we're going to go over some simple carving exercises that can really help you on your printmaking journey. We're only going to need 3 things for this little exercise. Get yourself a piece of linoleum, a Sharpie or a marker, and of course, your linoleum cutter. This time, I'm going to be utilizing the speedable linoleum cutter that comes with the interchangeable blades in here. The very first thing I like to do is to divide my linoleum block into areas I can work with eventually. Since I have a rectangle, I'm just going to go with squares, but I am also going to write the word inside and outside. Now, this is something that we're going to do towards the end of this video, but make sure you write it down. When it's time to carve, I'm just simply going to start with any of the sizes. You can just choose a different size gouge, but I'm going to start personally with a V gouge. The very first thing I like to do is to do the most basic stroke that I use when I carve. And for me, that is going to be the straight line. A tip on the straight line when you're carving one, make sure you're always carving away from your body and not towards your body. These are sharp gouges, and make sure that you don't cut yourself by removing a hand or something that you could eventually get hurt. So make sure you do that. Once I started doing my straight line, I also like to do a little cross hatch. Cross hatching is something that I end up using a lot in my prints, mainly to mark areas that I know I will remove. So it's something that I always start and warm up with. Squiggly lines or little curves are also something that I utilize a lot in a lot of my body of work. So that's something that I also start working and just getting a good feel. Now, I know some of you may not be doing squiggly lines and cross hatching the entire time, so you can substitute some of the little markings that you're doing on your block to suit whatever needs you have. However, once you tested one set of marks with one gouge, I recommend that you go up a size. Always start with something in the medium size and then go something bigger and put them right next to each other so that you're able to see how different and how big those gaps are going to be, especially if you're planning of going a little bit more of a freestyle when it comes to your carving. This really lets you to see the difference of how wide those gaps are going to be when you're carving. And it's something that I wasn't quite sure how to do at the very beginning. Maybe I'm just kind of a little dumb, but it was something that I was kind of always struggling with. I'm like, I wonder if I should just start carving this huge area with this tiny little tool. Well, no, that's why you have a larger one. So you should probably use the larger one. And I think I didn't realize that concept until I was kind of doing this when I started utilizing a larger gouge. I know it's kind of like beginners, kind of like basic things, but sometimes when you're new to a new hobby or you're learning a new skill, those may not be the first things that come to mind. So just make sure you do that. At the end, you're going to have tested 3 different sizes of the same pattern. That is just, I like working in 3, so I always like doing the same thing 3 times. Now, when it comes to the words. Now, with inside, you're going to grab your gouge and you're going to carve the inside of the black line. Now, there's 2 big types of linoleum carvings and block prints. You have your white lines and then you have your black line Linocuts. In this case, with the word outside, we're only carving the outside of the word and we're leaving the actual inked part with the word outside alone. This part is going to eventually end up becoming a black line Linocut because once we inked up this block, the only areas that would get ink would be the areas that were not carved away. That would give us a black line carving because all the areas that we carved will be negative space that did not receive any ink. So the same thing with the word outside. Take that concept, put it in reverse with the word inside. Inside would give us a white line Linocut because only the areas that we carved, in this case, the word inside, would be the areas that would get marked up. After that, I just simply like to go freestyle. I get my different size gouges and I just do random shapes and patterns. Once again, do the patterns that work best for you. Just make sure you utilize all of your gouges. At the end, I just like to bring in an ink pad and just simply cover the entire block with ink. Now, this is not going to be something I'm going to be printing. It's just simply to help me visualize the type of markings I was working on and kind of warming up with. It gives me a sense of like, oh, okay, well, I can utilize this size gouge to make this specific type of line, or I can utilize this size gouge to make this other effect that I wanted. Hopefully it's something that you can start. If you're a very beginner, I totally recommend you start doing that. And if not, I also recommend that you do it before you start any carving as a simple warm-up. Hopefully after this carving exercise, you'll have a little bit better understanding about positive and negative space and just the different type of lines and marks that your tools can really create. Once you know what each gouge can do, then you can hopefully bring all of those elements together to create your very own designs. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment. I'll see you on the next video.